Dear viewers, the two epic wars of India speak not just the ancient history of India, they indeed trace the ancient history of the world itself. You could have got the glimpse of it when I published the research videos on Mahabharata. Now it is the turn of Ramayana. Do follow my research video series on Ramayana and see how they connect with the ancient history of the world. The 10-headed Ravana, who was the king of ancient Lanka some 7,000 years ago, is described by the Aryans of India to be of demonic Asura race and is credited with knowledge in many fields like music, medicine, astronomy, astrology, politics, science, psychology, literature, mantra and tantra, etc. Such a profound personality was described by the very Aryans as a lustful person who abducted Rama's wife Sita to marry her. Rama, with the help of the monkey army from South India, waged war with Ravana and said to have killed Ravana and rescued Sita. However, the existing Sanskrit narration of the epic is a fraud, and I am extracting the real history behind this epic through these research videos. To lay the foundation for this research, I am revealing the true identity of Ravana in this first video. After publishing similar videos on Indran, his son, and Kumbhakarnan, his younger brother, I would start the decoding process. The mythological names are not the given names of the respective personalities, but they are the title names which describe a specific attribute of the respective personalities. Through these titles, ancient Tamils preserved the history of those individuals and the history of the land connected to these individuals. For instance, the given name of the historical person Buddha was Siddhartha, which means endowed with wisdom, as was named by their parents. But his title Buddha meant that he discovered a brand new idea. Puttam in Tamil means new. The sage who preached a brand new and great idea was named Buddha, which is a deformation of Puttam meaning new in Tamil. In the same way, Ravanan was also a title name only, and we actually do not know his given name, as he wasn't a historical person but a Puranic personage. What is the meaning of Ravana? In the name of Ravana, there is a book known as Ravana Sanhita, which is still being followed in North India. Even though it is said to cover many fields of knowledge, it is primarily known as a book of astrology. We know that astrology is closely associated with astronomy. If someone from ancient world wrote a book on astrology, he then should have definitely been an astronomer. All the 7 planets were known to humans from the times of Murugan. We know it so as Murugan created Saptamada deities, each representing one of the 7 planets. But Murugan did not seem to have created astrology. However, Murugan was aware of the effects of moon on living beings, and hence, to counter its influence on human embryos, he started Pradosham worship to prevent procreating sexual activities of humans for about a week near no moon day every month. Ravana, who was aware of all the 7 planets that Murugan knew, observed their movements and estimated their orbital periods. Following Murugan's view on the effects of moon on humans, Ravana theorized the effect of each of the 7 planets on humans, and based on this theory, he created the science of astrology. We shall even conclude that it was Ravana who initiated astrology for the first time. The next personality that we know who practiced astronomy and astrology was Mahabharata Sahadevan, who lived 2000 years after that of Ravana. But we are not aware of his individual contribution in these fields. The other immense personality in these fields of knowledge was Vishnu, who lived about 1000 years after the Mahabharata war. It was Vishnu who created the shadow planets called Rahu and Ketu and the 12 zodiacs, and designed the calendar called Panchangam that Tamils follow to this very day. It was he who included Rahu and Ketu and the 12 zodiacs into the existing astrology. Using Rahu and Ketu, he could predict the occurrence of solar and lunar eclipses for the first time in the history of mankind. The Mayan god of astronomy, the Kukulkan, is nothing but Vishnu. That invariably means that Ravana's astrology should have been based only on the 7 planets. Contrary to the simple historical fact, if Ravan Samhita uses 9 planets and 12 zodiacs, then it should have been modified by somebody in recent times. I would research about Ravan Samhita and publish later. It was Ravana Sangeetham, a Tamil name, that deformed to Ravan Sanhita in the course of time. During Ravana's times, alphabetic Tamil did not evolve, and hence his literature was in the form of poetry and was passed on through the word of mouth for the posterity. That is why it was called Ravana Sangeetham, meaning Ravanan's poetry. From the discussion above, we understand that Ravana was a Siddha who was an astronomer. Another proof for the same is the Saka calendar, known in the name of Indran, the son of Ravana. Thus, Ravanan's title name should have originated from this aspect of his personality. Ra plus Vanan, Ravanan, Ravanan. Ra means night. Vanan in Tamil means man of the sky. Together, Ravanan means man of the night sky, which means astronomer. This inference is further substantiated by the existence of a temple called Ravan Parshvanath in the North Indian district called Alwar. Vishnu, the Parshvanath, was worshipped by Ravanan in this temple. Is the articulated absurd history regarding this temple. I had established in the year 2013 itself through the video Part 4 Vishnu that Parshvanath, the Jain Tirthankarar, was actually the god Vishnu known in Hinduism. According to Jains themselves, the times of Parshvanath was 500 years prior to that of Mahavira, that is 3000 years from now. But according to me, his times was about 4000 years from now. The 12 zodiacs that we know today were created by Vishnu Parshvanath, and of these 12 zodiacs, 8 zodiacs represent the characters of Mahabharata. Kindly watch Capricorn Zodiac and the Amazing History of Mankind video published earlier in this channel. That being the case, it is amply clear that Vishnu was indeed born after the Mahabharata war. There is absolutely no doubt about it. Thus, Vishnu Parshvanath was born 3000 years after Ramayanam, and hence Vishnu Parshvanath was not known to Ravanan. Thus, in Alwar Parshvanath temple, Ravanan could not have worshipped Vishnu, the Parshvanath. Parshvanath was one of the title names of Vishnu. The name Parshvanath originated from Par, Saha, Nathan, where Par means observe, Saham means cosmos, and Nathan means leader or king. Hence, the meaning of the title name Parshvanath is the king who observed the cosmos. As Ravanan was also a king who observed the cosmos, this title name was awarded to Ravanan also after the times of Vishnu. But the Ravan Parshvanath temple is in the town Alwar, that is Alwar, which is associated with Vishnu. But the people of Alwar should have migrated to Alwar region from ancient Lanka and became Jains here, and thus they revere both the astronomers Ravanan and Vishnu. Thus, Ravan Parshvanath temple is the place where both Ravanan and Vishnu were worshipped by the people. Thus, it is established that Ravanan was an astronomer, and hence his title name should have originated from this aspect of his history. We shall now take up Ravanan's 10 heads. There are only 2 interpretations for this. The first interpretation is as follows. Ravana was an expert in 10 different streams of knowledge. To metaphorically represent this fact, he was picturized with 10 heads. The second interpretation is as follows. Ravanan was an astronomer. There were only 7 planets at his times. Hence, he should have originally been picturized with 7 heads before the times of Vishnu and 9 heads after the times of Vishnu. Either of these 2 interpretations could be right. That means his heads were not biological heads, as it is foolishly described in Sanskrit scriptures, but are metaphoric heads. We shall now discuss the racial or ethnic origin of Ravana. He was an Yaksha. Ravana belongs to Kubera community, and Kubera was an Yaksha. Moreover, a section of the Nepalis were the descendants of Ravana, and one of the Nepalese kings was called Yaksha Malla, and hence it is very obvious that Ravanan was an Yaksha. Yakshas were the mountain people, and hence Ravanan was a Paraya and Kurava. As Shiva was also a Paraya and Kurava, Ravana worshipped Shiva, his forefather. As Yakshas lived on the mountains, and as Kandi was the mountain region of Lanka, Ravanan originally belonged to Kandi region. However, Ravana's capital was Jaffna, situated in the northmost part of Lanka, which is called Yalpanam in Tamil. How do I state this? Kuberan was the king of Lanka before Ravana, and Ravana took charge from Kubera, and hence Kubera's capital was obviously Ravana's capital too. Here, I have to emphasize that Ravana did not take the charge through force as is wrongly portrayed. It was a smooth transfer of power by a process called Mahasammadam, which was a result of consensus among the Siddhas of the land. Returning to the topic, was Kubera's capital Jaffna? Yes, indeed. How do I say? The Mayan who created Vastu Sastra was a Lankan, and he was the father-in-law of Ravana. According to Vastu Sastra of Mayan, north direction was called Kubera direction, as Kuberan ruled Lanka from the northern side of Lanka, the Yalpanam. Moreover, Lankan's people were skilled in music and dance, and Ravana is credited to have improved Yar and in the process invented Veena, the sophisticated musical equipment. Even Jaffna itself was named Yalpanam after the famous Yar musicians who lived predominantly in Jaffna. The name Yalpanam deformed to Jaffna through the European tongue. These facts establish that Yalpanam was indeed the capital of Ravanan kingdom. Now, the question arises as to why the mountain Yaksha people ruled Lanka from the ground region and why they chose Yalpanam, which is far away from Kandi and situated at the northmost point of Lanka. The fact is that in the times of Ramayana, the kingdom of Kubera and Ravana comprised of Lanka and the Indian region south of Vindhya mountains. According to Sanskrit Ramayana, at Panjavadi of Dandakaranya, the regional captains of Ravana, namely Karan and Dushan, lost the war against Rama. Though such a war really did not happen, the fact that this region was under the rule of Ravana is suggested by Ramayana through this war episode. Thus, South India was also ruled by Ravana, and I want you to make a note of this information. As both Lanka and South India were ruled by Kuberan family, they chose Yalpanam, which was at the geographical center of the kingdom, as their capital. There was another reason for the Yaksha to descend from the mountains. The mountain Kauravas of ancient Lanka, who waged unsuccessful war against Murugan and his agriculture, later adopted agriculture as their profession due to the want of times. Hence, they settled on the ground. It is those mountain Yaksha people who adopted agriculture were called Mallars. As agricultural people were more black in color compared to the mountain people, they were called Mallars. Mal or Mal means black. I said that Yaksha people directly entered agriculture after descending from the mountains. But this is not the usual route. Actually, the people who lived on the mountains in the ancient world later came down to the ground region as herders of cattle, who then became agriculturists after the times of Murugan. Murugan was a herder in the Lemurian continent. There are proofs for the same. Apart from the usual proofs among Tamils, in ancient Middle East, Murugan was known as Tammuz, and he was known both as a herder and an agriculturist. Hence, Murugan was a cowherd in pre-deluge Lemuria. During the deluge, Murugan settled in southern Lanka along with the survivors of the deluge, and he later started agriculture to feed his population. As far as Mallars are concerned, they entered agriculture profession immediately following the descent from the mountains, which happened long after the times of Murugan. I surmise this fact as there wasn't sufficient ground to believe that native herder community existed in Lankan region before the deluge. Thus, Ravana was an Yaksha originally, and after adopting agriculture, he is also known as Malla. We shall now see whether Ravanan was a Brahmin. According to Asivagam way of life, Only the Amanas were called Brahmins. The sages who lived in caves and became physically naked due to the attainment of nirvana were called Amanas. Ammana stage, that is, the naked stage, is attained when all the five sensory perceptions are won over by the individual due to his penance. That is, the Siddhas who attained nirvana, that is moksha, were called Brahmins. Periya Amanan, Peramanan, Piramanan, Brahmanan. Thus, the Jews who migrated to India from Kasar region through the Khyber Pass can't be called Brahmanas. As the name Brahman had a huge respect among the Indian masses, these invading Jews looted this title and made it their clan title. Gautam Buddha slammed these Jews, saying that the Jews aren't Brahmins and Siddhas and Buddhas alone are Brahmins. Buddha was actually a Siddha, a descendant of Asivaka tradition. Not only that, we shall realize that Buddha was a descendant of Ravana, the ancient king of Lanka, when we discuss about Indra. Thus, Ravana, the world-renowned Siddha, was a Brahmana, but he wasn't the class of fake Brahmin of Jewish lineage. Thus, Subramaniam Swami, the fake Brahmana, cannot inherit the heritage of Ravana, the real Brahmana. We shall now debunk the Subramanian Swami's theory that Ravanan was born in North India. Even before the times that Ravanan ruled Lanka, there was a settlement that thrived in Indus Valley. There are evidences for this fact. There was a submerged city, though wrongly notified as Dwarka, near the coast of Gujarat, which is dated to be about 9,000 years old. Secondly, recent archaeological findings state that IVC settlement happened before 8,000 years itself. They settled from Lanka and South India. But near Ganga Delta region, human settlement happened during or after Mahabharata times only. There are no archaeological evidences to prove the presence of modern humans in Gangetic plains prior to Mahabharata times. Thus, IVC settlement happened well before Ramayanam times, and the settlement in Gangetic plain happened only after the Mahabharata times. There should be reasons for this contrast in migration pattern of the Lankans and the South Indians. Yes, indeed. In ancient times, man lived only on mountains. Near the shores of Arabian Sea, starting from Kerala and up to Maharashtra, there is a mountain range called Western Ghats, which lies very close to the sea. This entire range of mountains were populated by humans well before Ramayana times. As this mountain range is very close to the seas, there was movement and trade between these people through the Arabian Sea. Obviously, people could migrate to IVC well before Ramayanam itself. But the Eastern Ghats mountain range is more than 50 kilometers away from the sea, and hence human population was absent on the eastern shores before Mahabharata times. As the human population did not exist on the eastern shore regions, there was no trade corridor in the eastern side of India, and obviously the human migration did not happen through eastern shore. Human population might have originated in these regions only when people came down from the mountains and started herding cattle. This happened well after the times of Ramayana. Yes, there were cattle herders in South Tamil Nadu region during Mahabharata times, and Krishnan was the solid proof for the same. Migration to the northeast side started when the Mallas of Lanka started looking for delta regions for carrying out paddy farming. When they started paddy farming near Tamarabarni Delta region by destroying the forest, the Mahabharata war started. It is around this time that another group of Mallas from Lanka settled in Ganga Delta region for starting paddy farming. They then grew in population and started migrating along the shores of Ganga up to Nepal. Kindly recall that there was Malla rule in Nepal, and the Nepalese people celebrate Indra Jatra festival every year. I would describe this migration in detail when I speak of Indra, the son of Ravana. Thus, as the Lankan people were living in the northwest India prior to Ramayana and in the northeast India post Mahabharata, and as more of Lankans moved to these regions after the Ramayana period, there is a misconception in these days that Ravanan was a North Indian. But it is not true. Ravanan was a Lankan. Mayans Vastu Sastra, which was based on Lankan landscape and it having been created before Ravana's rule of Lanka, proves that Ravanan, Mayan and Mandodari belong to Lanka and not North India. Kindly watch my video on the origin of Vastu Sastra. We shall now discuss the flying machines of Ravana. It was true that Ravanan had flying machines. Spokes wheel was invented by Indra, the son of Ravana. That's when bullock cart and chariots came into use for the first time in the world. The Tamil word Yentiram, meaning machine, originated from the name Indiran, the inventor of wheel. Is there a machine without a wheel? In fact, all the English words related to mechanism seems to have originated from the root word Mahan. Mahan, Mahanism, mechanism. But Mahan means a great sage in Tamil, and the Siddhas like Indra, Ravana are such sages. The word Mahan deformed from Makan, where Ma means great and Khan means manifesting. Makan means manifesting greatness. Obviously, the English word machine should have originated from Indran, the Mahan, just like the Tamil word Yendiram originating from Indiran. Thus, ancient Lanka was very advanced in science and technology. They had bird-type flying machines called as Pushpak Vimana. As the bones of the birds are hollow, like the stems of grass, to reduce the weight, the birds were also called by the name of the grass in Tamil as Pul. It is from this word that Pushpak originated. Pul plus Vahai, Pulvahai, Putpahai, Putpak, Pushpak, where Pul means bird and Vahai means class, and hence Pushpak means bird class and Pushpak Vimana means bird class Vimana. But we don't know whether these Pushpak Vimanas were of balloon type or the types that require runway. The Mayans were aware of the rubber technology more than 3000 years ago, and the Mayans were the descendants of Lankan people. There was a voltaic battery called the Agatya battery, and Agatya was the contemporary of Ravana. We are also aware of Baghdad battery, which is just the same as that of Agatya battery, and we know that Sumerians too originated from ancient Lanka. Thus, Ravanan should have been aware of rubber products, and Ravanan was aware of voltaic batteries. These facts suggest that Ravanan could have had hydrogen balloon airplanes. These batteries would have helped them to generate hydrogen through electrolysis of water. There are Nazca lines in Mayan area, and Mayan pyramids were built with Lankan technology. These additional facts suggest that there was an imperial air traffic between Lanka and the Mayans apart from the usual traffic through the seas. Moreover, aircraft-like objects were excavated in Mayan archaeology, which substantiates this air traffic theory. The Egyptian pyramids were also built by Lankan settlers in Egypt region. This is established by the fact that the Egyptian gods are associated with the Kundalini Yoga, which originated from Lemuria where Shiva lived and Lanka where Murugan lived. The discs on the heads of Egyptian gods represent Kundalini Chakra, and the associated snake represent the Kundalini snake. Horus of Egypt is Shiva the Orion, and the Amun of Egypt is Murugan. There are plenty of facts to prove that Egyptian pyramids were built by Lankan settlers in Egypt. In those Egyptian pyramids too, we are able to spot aircraft-like carvings which connects Lanka with ancient aircrafts. In Ellora cave temples also, Ravana is portrayed with a jet-like flying machine as brought out by Praveen Mohan of Phenomenal Travel Videos. Thus, Ravana had flying machines indeed. Next, we shall discuss the claim that Sinhalese inherit Ravanan's fame. I would publish about Vijayan, from whom Sinhalese race descended, and his relationship with the lion, and the connection of his forefathers with Buddhism through a later video. Vijayan having come from North India about 2500 years ago, and Ravanan having existed about 7000 years ago, there is indeed no direct connection between Sinhalese and Ravana. Moreover, Ravanan was a Tamil, as is known from his name, and that of others like Kubera, Indra, Kumbhakarna, Mayan, etc. Establishing the ancient language of Lanka as Tamil, a very ancient seal was discovered in Jaffna area, which bears the same information through two different scripts, one being the Indus script and the other being the Tamil Brahmi script. I had unmistakably proved that the original Indus script was created by Murugan of Lanka through the video Who Created the Indus Script, Part 1, The Easter Island Connection. Murugan headed the second Tamil Sangam and it was located in southern Lanka. The Brahmi script of Tamil was created in South India during third Tamil Sangam about 3500 years ago, which according to me was headed by Vishnu, who ruled the whole of India from Trichy. The dual script Jaffna seal should have obviously existed at a time when the transition from Indus script to Brahmi script was happening. Hence, this seal is many a thousand years old. This and the other Brahmi inscriptions found in Lanka proves that the ancient language of Lanka was Tamil. However, even the Proto-Sinhala, which was a derivative of Prakrit, could not be traced in Lanka beyond 2nd century BC. The current Sinhala language is a mixture of Prakrit, Pali and Tamil. Thus, Sinhala was in the ancient language of Lanka. Even if Vijayan originated from Saka clan of North India, I feel that it is quite possible his descendants in Lanka cannot inherit Ravana's heritage directly. The Mayans, Nepalese, Bengalis, Egyptians, Persians and Siberians too shall claim the heritage of Ravana, as they are also of Saka clan, and Sinhalese too claim similarly and not more. Just because the Sinhalese are living in Lanka now, they cannot inherit Ravana's heritage more than that of Tamils. The Sinhalese, who were the original descendants of Lankan Tamils, shall claim the shared heritage of Ravana through Lankan Tamils only. The primary right to inherit Ravana's heritage lies with Tamils only, who speak the same language that Ravana spoke and who continue to live without break in the same area which was the kingdom of Ravana. As the Tamils of Lanka are racially targeted and exterminated by the Sinhalese, I have to make this explicit statement of fact. We shall now see whether Sigiriya hill could have served as a palace of Ravana. King Ravana lived in Jaffna and his palace should have existed there only. However, as Ravana was an astronomer and as astronomy could be conducted from hilltops only, he was indeed associated with the Sigiriya hill, which is a very convenient hill for making astronomical observations. The pyramids of the world were constructed using the architectural principles of Mayan, primarily for astronomical observations, and they were built in plains where mountains or hills were absent, as is the case with the Mayan region and the Egypt and Sumerian desert plains. No such pyramids were constructed in Lanka or India, as there are plenty of hills and mountains. Sigiriya Hill being an astronomical observatory, there could have been a guest palace on Sigiriya Hill for assisting the royal Kauravas, including Ravana, for undertaking astronomical studies. As it is a small hill, a royal palace of governance could not have existed on it. Why was Ravana called as Rakshasa king? The ancient Tamils were expert in every conceivable field of knowledge and they possessed a huge corpus of literature in all these fields. But the Jewish Brahmins, who considered themselves as a chosen people of the god, were at the abyss as far as their knowledge stock was considered. They were obviously jealous on Tamils, and that is the reason that they waged 3 wars on Tamils in the course of history. The first of it is known as Ramayanam War, and it was waged to destroy Lankan Pandyas by Rama the Jew about 7000 years ago. The second of it is known as Mahabharat War, and it was waged to destroy Tirunelveli Pandyas by Sagni the Jew 5100 years ago. The third of it is known as Kalapirar War, and it was waged on Madurai Pandyas by Parasurama, the Jew from Udupi, in the 3rd century AD. The Pandyas fell only in this third war. Thus, the Jews were very jealous of Tamils who were possessing impossible wisdom, skills, and arts. The Jews also felt that the excellent skills obtained by Tamils through their Siddha practice as magical. Hence, the Indian Jews looted the epics from Tamils and recreated them with doctrine in Sanskrit, portraying Tamils as evil people, and that's how Ravana is being described as Rakshasa. Pity is that the word Asura or Rakshasa actually the deformed forms of Tamil word Arasan meaning king. They got deformed so when the Jewish Brahmins pronounced them. Their hatred for Tamils, which started in the times of Ravana, continued till the times of Prabhakaran and beyond. There is no democracy in India. It's all Brahmanocracy.